making Father's Day matzo ball soup. If you don't have matzo meal, you can use semolina flour. And if you don't have semolina flour, you can use cream of wheat. It's basically the same, except that unlike matzo meal, semolina flour and cream of wheat is not kosher. But it's not Passover either, so you don't need kosher. Unless you're super kosher and you need kosher. In any case, we're boiling the carrots first. Want some vegetables in there, and then we're going to add garlic and some onions. And we're using our matzo meal here, or semolina flour. We have some dill and parsley here for taste, and some paprika. No matzo ball soup is good without a little paprika. And unfortunately, it's a vegetarian matzo ball soup, or as they call it in Europe, galuste soup. In Italy, it's known as gnocchi soup. And in most of Eastern Europe, Russia, Romania, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, it's known as galuste soup. And we do have to use eggs, unfortunately. There's no way to make it without it. We've tried. We're also going to use a little bit of Vegeta. Vegeta is a spice mix. We use the Naturella, or the natural one. It doesn't have the MSG, any of the chemicals. We're adding some Vegeta. Add according to your taste, and depending how big your pot is. We're going to have 3 teaspoons. It's a really big pot. This has a lot of salt in it, so make sure you don't over salt. This is basically 50% salt, so do not over salt. Stir. You can use any vegetables you want. When the carrots are about half done, then you throw the onions in. You don't want to throw the onions, and sometimes the carrots or the onions will get too mushy. Mix, then cover and let it cook for another 10-15 minutes. The carrots and onions almost done. We're going to add 1 big teaspoon of dill and parsley mix, and 2 teaspoons of paprika. What the heck. I'm going to throw all in there. Throw all the paprika in there. Paprika is just pure vitamin C, so it's good for you, especially if you got a cold. Before you beat the eggs, you need to add 1 level teaspoon of salt. And for every egg, you add 6 tablespoons of the matzo ball meal, or the cream of wheat, or the semolina flour, whichever one you happen to find. So 6 of these for every egg. We finished adding all the flour, 24 tablespoons. I'm going to mix it in there with the salt that we added earlier and the 4 eggs. Once you're done mixing it all the way, it has to sit in the refrigerator for at least 10 minutes. Anywhere between 10 minutes and 30 minutes. It needs to harden. If it's too hard, you add a little bit of water and you keep mixing. We had to add water, about 1/4 of a cup. You have to get it to be perfect before we put it in the fridge. You wanted the consistency of sour cream before you put it in the fridge. It's almost there. And some of you are wondering about the garlic. What about the garlic? The garlic, which is the best part of matzo soup, you add it when you put the matzos. Actually, no, just kidding. About 10 minutes before the matzos are done. When done cooking, you add it then. Clean your hands well and wet them a little bit. Some people prefer to use oil, but water's fine. Grab a little bit, okay, and roll it gently. Do not apply too much pressure, or they'll get too heavy. You can make them as big or as small as you want. And then you have to drop them in the simmering broth. Some people prefer to boil these first, cook them in a clear water, salt water, before they put them in the soup, so the soup will not be as cloudy, but that's entirely up to you. We will drop them directly into the soup. Again, this has sat in the refrigerator for about 25 minutes, close to half an hour, and they're perfect now. Now that the water is simmering, and you gently drop them in there. Use a spoon. And you let them cook for about 20 minutes. You'll know when they're done. See how they're sinking? When they rise, you know they're done. Okay, gently put it in there with a spoon. When they come to the top, they're pretty much done. The matzo ball has been cooking for about 10 minutes. This one we add the garlic. You have to be careful. You don't want to stir the bottom of the soup and destroy the matzo balls. They haven't risen yet, so they're not done. But again, once they rise, they're pretty much done, but you must taste it first. Sometimes they need to be cooked a little bit longer. Okay. Add the garlic. Okay, put a lid and let them put the lid and let them cook for about another 10-15 minutes. Soup is now done. Once they roast the top, we cook them for another 10 minutes. Remember, always taste one, make sure it's done. Some people like them a little harder in the middle, some like them a little softer. If they're too soft, they'll fall apart and basically it won't be a matzo ball anymore. Here you have the finished product, matzo ball soup, or if you're in Italy, it's known as gnocchi soup. If you're in Eastern Europe, it's galuste or galuska if you're Ukraine or Russia. It's basically the same thing, and if you use matzo flour, then it's kosher. If not, then it's not. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time with a new recipe.